So in this video, we're going to watch Margarita Simonyan say that America, they're the warmongers, they're the problem, and she's going to do it with a switch in logic, like this little, she's going to say that they said this, and then that means this. And if she did this in a paper, and submitted it to me in a paper, she'd get an F. And I'll talk about why she's so wrong. Before we do that, I want to show you this little clip just to set the stage. This was this great little bit from a glitch in Russian propaganda from inside Russia. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just let's watch this. And thank you so much for putting this out, Konstantin. This was absolutely great. Watch this.
Would you like to see how Russian propaganda works? Well, check this out.
Тревожное сообщение снова приходит из приграничных населенных пунктов региона. Сегодня под обстрелом оказалась окраина Борисовского села городок.
Russian propaganda is the best in the world, but sometimes it glitches. And this is one of the glitches. We can see it with our own eyes.
Вологодское село Новопетровка сегодня тоже попало под огонь ВСУ. Есть разрушения, к счастью, обошлось без пострадавших. Но самая тяжелая ситуация в Шебекино. Ночью по городу был нанесен массированный удар. 37 снарядов упали в центре, 4 ранены. Повреждены жилые дома, торговые, административные объекты, автомобили.
So, folks, what do you think? Please, let me know in the comments.
All right, so that's really interesting that they're so locked down in Russian propaganda that they're saying the identical script in two different stations, and it is that scripted, that there's not a lot of freedom in it. So I say that, I preface that in order to then say whatever she's saying. Now, she is the editor of RT, Russia Today. So she is, what she's saying, even if she's just having a conversation, she knows that she's scripting, she's trying to communicate certain things. So thank you to the Russian Media Monitor for putting this together. Thank you to Konstantin for putting that last little bit together. And let's see what Margarita Simonyan, the editor of RT, has to say. And then we'll talk about why she's saying it. The only country in the world that didn't lose but won as a result of World War II, which didn't lose but won as a result of all wars in the last 100 years. It would have been destroyed. Its economy truly would have been in tatters if it wasn't bailed out by World War II, is the United States of America. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Now, there are there are some economists that say that World War II brought the Americans out of the Great Depression because it put them on a war footing. Well, yeah, but then you're spending money on war stuff in order to get that. So that's not exactly correct. But I understand what she's arguing. Let's keep going. This country finally stopped pretending. Look at what its leader said and freak out from the cynicism. In a moment of so much violence and suffering in Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, it can be difficult to imagine that something different is possible. But we must never forget and learn time and time again throughout our history, out of great tragedy and upheaval, enormous progress can come. So you can translate that a couple of different ways. Out of progress and appeal, great progress can come. We can overcome this, and in spite of this, we can still become better versions of ourselves. Or you can say, aha, we're going to seize this and make it bad for other people so that we can profit and benefit because we're just that kind of evil. Well, let's see how she talks about it. So now they cynically admit what we've been reporting on air for decades. Well, what you've been reporting has been a very twisted view of what's going on in the United States. That's what you've been reporting for decades. And all the liberals did not believe us. Well, because you make crap up, we didn't believe you. And there's a reason why we don't believe you, because you continue to lie and make things up. They urged you not to believe it and said it was crazy that we believe in conspiracy theories when we said that they're doing it because it benefits them. Okay, so that's an interpretation of what was said that doesn't necessarily merit that interpretation. And again, if she put what she just said into a paper, I'd fail her, because there's no way that you can make that kind of connection necessarily based on what was said. What we can interpret is that out of tragedy, we can become something better. But that doesn't mean that it's saying that we're doing this so that we can, profit off of your war experience. Now, what's interesting is that in Russian media, they often accuse, this is my observation, You can go back through the catalog of my videos and look at this, and just you'll see time and time again how the Russians, they will point at what their opponents, they'll say that like the Ukrainians are doing this, or the West is doing that, or the Americans are doing that. The things that they're doing, they'll point and accuse their opponents of. And they do it again and again. Because for them, a war is an investment. World War II started in 1939. They could make weapons and tanks. Wait a minute. They were arming against Hitler. It wasn't just an investment to supply to other people. That's not what was going on. So yeah, you can't really think in those kind of terms, and that's not really not fair. Print dollars and secure jobs. Well, when you print dollars, you actually hurt your economy. It's true, you did have fuller employment, but that's because women were drawn into the workforce as men were being sent overseas, and so you had the lowest employment rate that you ever had. Pay them bigger salaries while they enjoy watching the rest of the world go down the tubes. This is so not the way that we thought about World War II, but that's the way that Russia is framing this. Now, there's an analog here because Russia is doing the very same thing as they're ginning up drama about Gaza. And if you watch most of RT recently, you'll see that 7/10, 8/10 of it is about Gaza, what's going on with Israel and Gaza. And they focus on that very heavily because they're more than happy to keep that controversy stirred so that it takes the eyes off of Ukraine, and that's very intentional. Okay, let's get back to this. While you're getting richer and crawling out of the swamp, the more wars and deaths that there are, the more Ukrainians die, the more Russians will die, the more Ukrainians and Russians will die, the more dollars this wonderful country will make. Look, you started this. The U.S. didn't cause this to happen. The U.S. is paying billions in order to support Ukraine because of your actions. We didn't start it to gin up money for, to line our pockets. We're paying a price in order to support Ukraine in the process of defending itself. This is just, it's such contorted, terrible logic. I mean, I'm just beside myself. It hurts my brain. I feel stupider reading this. Okay, it's been feeding off wars for the last 100 years. Wars are a sole guarantee, a basis of an economic foundation of its existence. No, wars, like, no, this is just hurting every economic bone in my body. Wars are destructive. They're not a positive thing. You want to not have wars to the degree that you can avoid them, but you can't always avoid them. That's the trick, and that's why we are where we are right now. But if we had our druthers, we'd have no wars and buy and trade and sell. And the way that you get rich is by being more productive or trading. Those are the two main mechanisms of getting rich, not wars. Now, if you're thinking as a criminal, maybe you're thinking that wars are a good thing because you can take other people's stuff and then you can have that. You can seize their stuff, which is kind of what Russia has done to the Donbass, which is a very mineral-rich region of Ukraine. And so that's the region that they seized upon. Okay, let's keep going. The reason for what is happening in Gaza is also not about the love of arts, as they say. It's not about love or hatred toward anyone. It's about the love of money. This is such Philistine pig ignorance. It's hard to even... Oh, man. Okay, it is because of hatred. Look at the 1,000 people slaughtered and hacked and maimed to death that were minding their own business on October 7th, enjoying a party or in their home or whatever, right? And it is about hatred. And what you've been doing is ginning up the hatred of Muslims against Israel for your purposes. And what you're doing is evil. Okay. It's banality, like everything else on earth. Love of money. Okay, we're going to stop there. That's not what it's about. It's really not. She's missing the point, and it's really sad that she's missing the point. But more to the point, she's not missing the point because she's stupid. She's missing the point intentionally in order to say, see, this is how America is. This is what they do. This is America. They're bad. That's not the way it works. In February 20th, let's say, of 2022, we weren't even paying attention to you. Like, we really weren't. It's not until you invaded Ukraine that the U.S. was really starting to focus on what was going on in Russia. Okay, at any rate, that's my thoughts about it. Tell me what you think. Am I missing something? Maybe there's a component piece of this that I'm somehow missing, but honestly, if she put this into a paper, I would have failed her. Okay, thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.